Welcome to Tapped In with Tony. I'm your host, Tony Bogan, and tonight joining me is former Kent State lacrosse player and current coach for MAXIM Lacrosse, Allison Kortowich. Allison, thank you for joining me.
Hi, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Not a problem. It was a blast game to cover girls lacrosse for the first time. I noticed you got the Maxim Lacrosse hat, and our
Absolutely.
website, Keon Sports, partnered up with Maxim Lacrosse this spring, and it was a pleasure. It was a blast game to cover girls lacrosse for a few games this year, and I learned a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Lacrosse is such a fun sport too. And every time you go to see a game, I feel like there's always more that somebody can learn. So it's a really fun thing to get into and be a part of.
Exactly. It was the first time I usually did video for football, basketball, baseball. And when I was approached to do video for this, I was excited. I was like, we got to see Hudson play. They won 10-9. I'm like, I'm looking at the schedules like, what other teams are out there?
That's awesome. No, we were super proud and we're thankful to have you guys come out and do all those videos for us. It was great.
Of course, always. Allison, for those who are just tuning in, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I just finished and graduated from Kent State, where I played 4 years playing lacrosse there. I was a captain my senior year. I was a midfielder my first 2 years, and then I was a defender my last 2 years. And during that time, we also started a club team. We are now known as Maxim Lacrosse. And we've been going on about 4-ish years, in the club lacrosse scene, which has been really cool for my family and I. And I've been a lacrosse coach for the past 4 years. And I actually just accepted the Union women's lacrosse assistant position too. So I've kind of been in and out of coaching and doing a bunch of different things. But we've got between graduating, working with Maxim, and starting Mount Union, there's been some things that have come up now that I've been excited to be a part of.
Awesome. And you are originally from Avon. How
Mhm.
was it like playing lacrosse for that program? I heard it's one of the top programs on the west side of Cleveland.
Yeah, thank you. It was interesting to say the least. And I say that because my dad was my head coach. We actually started the Avon Lacrosse program. I don't know if you knew that, but we started the Avon Lacrosse program.
Know that now.
Um, yeah, yeah, now you know. So it actually started off as a youth program and it was just supposed to be for boys. And I was like, hey, you should make a girls program too. I want to play this sport. And my parents were like, no, we're just gonna do boys because they were playing for a neighboring town and they realized half the team was Avon kids. So they were like, screw it, let's make a program. So they were just gonna do boys youth lacrosse. And I was like, no, I really convinced them. And so they said, fine, we'll make a deal with you. If you can find a team, we'll find you a coach. So I rounded up all my friends because I was lucky that I played other sports. We ended up breaking and coming together and making our first team. My mom was my head coach the first year, love her to death, but that woman knew absolutely nothing about lacrosse. We were Googling what is an 8 meter, how to take draw, knew absolutely nothing about the game. But it was a really, really cool experience. And after that first year, my dad switched from boys to girls and ended up taking over the girls program my 8th grade year and then came into high school with me and sort of followed me all throughout my career at Avon, which was really cool. And it was really fun too, because as my friends and I started to get really invested into it, we went, I think my freshman year, we were 127th out of 130th in the state of Ohio. And I think my senior year, we were top 40, maybe even top 30. I don't know off the top of my head, but we made it to the Sweet 16, which was sweet for our region, and really, really progress in high school, which was cool because I feel like we really put Avon on the map for the first time, built it from scratch. All of those girls that played, we had started together, started the team together, played in the summers together, would hang out together at the lacrosse field, did whatever we could just to build the program up as much as we possibly could. And then I obviously got to be a lot closer with my father because he was my head coach, and all the car rides home from games that didn't go so well were definitely interesting, but it brought us really close together because him and I got chances to hang out that we would have never had before him and I got into lacrosse. So it was really, really cool. And I cherish that moment and those moments with him and the team and just everything. It was really, really cool.
That's amazing. And Avon, when people think of Avon, think of football. I know Vince McKee wrote about in the book, high school football rivalries. Was there something like that with any of the other schools as far as it came to lacrosse?
In terms of rivalries,
Yes.
So during my year, like Avon Lake is obviously our biggest rival, just like through a school standpoint. I would say as a lacrosse standpoint, like St. Joe's was actually one of our rivals back when I played. I don't think they are anymore. Um, and it was one of our rivals because we played them 3 times in a row, and all 3 times we went into overtime. Um, and it was like crazy. So it was like we knew every time we went to go play St. Joe's, like it was going to be a battle. We were going to go into overtime. One of them, I think we went into overtime. It was 2-2. Like that was the entire score of the game, which is crazy because most of the time it's like 10-10 or like a typical scoring game is like 10 points. So like to only score 2 goals in an entire game was crazy. And we lost, I think, all 3 times when we went into overtime. And it wasn't until the 4th time that we played them that we finally beat them. So like that was sort of a rivalry for us, was like, oh, the St. Joe's game, like that's going to be a good one for us because they would beat us in overtime 3 years in a row. And that was really frustrating. But I would say Avon Lake or St. Joe's are probably our rivals.
Gotcha. And you say you played another sport at did you play any other sports besides lacrosse at Avon?
At Avon, I did cross country and I played a little bit of basketball my freshman and sophomore year. And then I just like through basketball and through cross country and then having friends in other sports, we were able to like pull people. Like a lot of my friends from basketball came over and played. We had swimming kids, we had cross country kids, we had soccer kids. There was a big sport for us that we could like grab people and say, hey, like it kind of transfers. Like if we can just figure out how to get you used to a stick having in your hand, like you'll be fine. And then there was obviously like we had band kids, we had choir kids. Like it was really just like anybody who we could get. When we first started, it was like anybody who we could get to like come play this sport. Like we were going to get them to come play the sport and come try it out for the first time. But it was mostly like soccer, basketball, and cross country. I think were like probably the top three.
Wow. It was like basically an all hands on deck when you guys started.
Yeah, yeah.
Every Avon
Oh,
life,
absolutely. Like whoever
every
we just needed to.
wow. And how big you guys, that shows that you guys had a lot of support for athletics because obviously with football, girls basketball, the lacrosse team. What does that say about having such a great community of support?
I think it's a large credit to our athletic director, Mr. Eric Frombach. He is one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my entire life. He really cares about the kids, really cares about the sports. And his daughter actually played on the team, so that obviously helped too. But he had like I want to say 4 kids, and all of them were like involved in sports. Where all of them went through the Avon Schools program. Like it was really cool to have as many people as we did, like being involved and like being helping out. Like we had a lot of parents who would just step up and help out when we first started. Like anybody that we could get on board, like I said, would come on board, and like it was cool too because then teachers who were maybe coaching other sports were like, "Hey, you're a new sport, like." We would come to games. Like it started to really progress over the years and it got pretty big, which was cool to see for sure because it wasn't when we first started.
Wow. And it takes time. The best things take time, and
Hmm.
it's grown. And even
Hmm.
Avon did pretty good in lacrosse this year. I know Vince covered a couple games.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. They did
And
well.
moving on to college recruitment, you played for Kent
Mhm.
State. Did you take any other visits in addition to that, or how did the college recruitment process work as far as lacrosse goes?
My recruitment process was unique in the sense that I thought I really wanted to go south. I thought I wanted to go really far. And so the way that recruiting works in high school is that September 1st of your junior year, like that's when you're allowed to be contacted by um, like Division 1 and Division 2 universities. So September 1st comes, I get my first call from Kent State. And the running joke all with all my friends was that they were like, "Oh no, she doesn't want to go to Kent State." Like even like I used to joke, I was like, "Yeah, I got a call. Like this will be cool." And like I told my coach this, like she knew, but of course after I had played there, but I didn't think I wanted to go to Kent State at all. I was just like had a weird like stereotype in my head, thought I wanted to go somewhere far away, and then I actually took the tour and like instantly fell in love. Like just loved the facilities. The coach was really cool. Like it was also a starter program, so I was like, okay, this is something that I'm used to. I'm used to being involved in a program that's like on the come up, like starting from scratch. Like that was nothing new to me. So I really liked the idea that I could sort of do it again and like pave the way for like the culture that we wanted to set, the standard that we wanted to set. Like all of that was really appealing. And I think it just ended up being one of those things where I was like, totally hit me by surprise, ended up loving it. I came home and my parents were like listening to me talk, being like, oh yeah, and my coach said this, and my assistant coach said this. And my parents were like, you're already talking about them as if they're your coaches. Like, you don't obviously don't even need to see anybody else. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. So I think that was September like 15th. I took that tour. And then like by the end of September, I had committed, which was crazy not looking back, but I'm so thankful I did, because then like, I don't even know, 4 months later, I tore my ACL and was completely out of like the recruitment process. So like, thank God I committed early, and like, as I did, and didn't like wait to try to see if anybody else would reach out, because it kind of saved me in the sense, because then I would have been out of film and out of the recruiting game. So I ended up committing really quickly, and obviously it was the best choice for me. I loved it there.
Wow. And talk about your first year. I know 2020 was just a crazy year in general. This is the second year of the Kent State program. You guys had played 6 games, and you guys are looking to. You guys had, had some tough games against Ohio State, some of the other
Mm.
programs. You played again in the Atlantic Sun when you guys first started the program, because usually
Yes,
when people think that, you think Florida teams, you think Georgia teams, more
yes,
Southern teams.
yeah,
You got Kent State all the way up north.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the ASUN was really weird. The MAC didn't have a lacrosse program. There wasn't enough schools. I think it was just us and Detroit Mercy. So we were both in the ASUN conference, which is part of the reason why I committed. Cause I was like, well, I mean, I want to go south, but maybe Kent State's it for me, and it'll be fun, cause then I get to like take trips down south. So we ended up like, we were supposed to be traveling to all these games. Well, then COVID obviously hit, shut us down. I think we played 6 games that first year, like you said. So we never ended up being able to travel to any of those Southern teams. And then by the time that we came back for season 2021, the MAC had developed, I want to say it was Youngstown and then Akron, because Akron also had started a team. And then Central Michigan joined and Robert Morris joined. So then, or Central Michigan was already in the conference, and then Robert Morris had joined us. So we ended up having like 4 or 5 teams. So we were able to actually have our own conference within Kent State, which was better for us probably, because traveling down south all the time would have really been brutal, and nobody wants to come up north for games that they don't have to. So it was
Yeah.
weird, but yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Weird for sure.
Yeah. I imagine, especially when you're doing games on school nights or work nights or something. Like, let's
Oh,
say you travel at 2 o'clock, you got a game at 6. Sometimes you'll
mm-hmm.
probably stay down there if it's far enough. Other times you'll, after the game, go right back up north and come back at 2, 3 in the morning and got
Oh yeah.
class.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That still happened. There was a time, oh, I'll never forget. We were coming back from Marquette, I think, and there's a time zone change on the way back, and it was like whatever the daylight savings time, where it added an hour too. So we ended up adding 2 hours on the way back home, driving from Marquette, which was like it was like 6 or 7 or 8 hour drive on the way back, which ended up being 10. We didn't get back until like 4 in the morning. And then our coaches were like, all right, make sure you get to class at like 9 a.m. tomorrow. Like, we're going to do class checks, like make sure you're in class. So there was like still some really brutal nights where you'd get home at like 4 in the morning. Everybody's like, don't talk to me. It's just like dead silent in the locker room because everyone's dead tired. Like, it's like, you're good. You're like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. Like, there were some really brutal nights where you'd get home really, really late, and you'd be like, all right, can't wait to go to class at 9 a.m. the next day and sleep for 3 hours. Like, this is great. But it
Got,
was cool.
gotcha. Because I know they had to put the student athlete,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, but the fact that you girls stayed on your studies, that's amazing, like, going there, I know it probably is difficult getting back at 3 a.m., getting X amount of sleep, and then boom, you gotta be at class at 9.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Brutal. Well, the worst part was that you would miss class for the games too. So like you couldn't miss like one more or two more, because then you would have missed like 3 or 4 classes from all the games that you've missed because of the season. So like you didn't have a choice. Like you had to go to class, like if
Yeah,
you were home.
gotcha. And, speaking of which, how did the pandemic affect you guys on the lacrosse side? And then going into 21 season where some programs don't play, some have had to cancel or postpone games. How did that
Mhm.
have an impact on you?
Um, it was weird fall. So the fall that we came back, so got sent home in the spring. You're like home all summer. Half of us like worked out, half of us didn't, because we were like we still didn't know if we were coming back. Um, so when we came back to school, it was like a lot of like, we're going to do a lot more conditioning because we know you guys haven't really been working out because you didn't know if you're coming back. So over the summer, we did like book club via Zoom because that was like one of the ways that we could like see each other and hang out. So we did book club over Zoom. We got back to the fall, and obviously we had a new class who had come in. And that first fall season, we had like 3 different groups of like 8 people. So and you weren't allowed to hang out with anybody else because you had COVID tests like 3 times a week. So you only hung out with like who was in your group, which was really freaky because I've like, since talked with those teammates who like were underneath me, who was that incoming freshman class, and they were like, yeah, like I remember sitting in the dorms like making flashcards of everybody's faces with everybody's names from the team roster on the website because they hadn't met their teammates and they didn't want to sound like an idiot on the field when they got to the field, and like they needed to make sure they knew their teammates' names, but they never met each other because they weren't in the same group. So like it was a really, really weird thing. Being on a team and having like not really met your teammates because we couldn't practice as a full team that first year. We didn't travel that first fall. Like usually in the fall you have 3 play days. We didn't do any of that. Like you literally practiced with your group, you worked out with your group, and then you went home. Like we really didn't talk to each other, which was freaky because you like need to know your teammates obviously to like play on a game or like play on the field together and like win games. So that first season back was like really kind of weird, and a lot of it was like trying to learn each other. And like by that point, by I think spring of that like second season that I had come back, it was like pretty full go. Like by the time season had hit, we were like, okay, now we can practice full field. Let's put in an offense because now we finally have all of you. Like it was just really weird. And I give my coaches a lot of credit because I don't know how it would have went otherwise if we didn't do it, but it was crazy. It was really weird.
Yeah, you guys made it happen, especially like
Yeah.
with especially having to navigate COVID with like I'm in 21, sometimes you have some schools you don't allow fans, you gotta stand
Mm-hmm.
6 feet away, you gotta have the
Yep.
social distancing. Yeah.
Yep.
The fact that we all navigate that, especially with even with high school football in Ohio, the fact that the season even happened is a miracle in and of itself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And going into your senior year, talk about your senior year some. You guys had the best year in program history to date.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I think a large credit to our senior year was like my class, like the group of girls that I came in with. Like we were really dead set on like we're gonna win a max championship and like we're gonna do it together. And so we really set like the standard of like this is the goal, like this is what we want to work towards. Like if you're not with us, like you're against us. Like if you have your own selfish goals, like you need to cut it right now because it's not going to help the team as a whole. And so we were really big on like cutting out the selfish stuff and like cutting out the egos. Like I don't care if you scored 4 goals because we still lost. Like that stuff's not important. Like it's at the end of the day, if we lose, we lose. Like it doesn't matter. So like that was a really big and important thing for us was to like set the standard that like it's as a team, we're gonna hang out as a team, we're gonna win as a team, we're gonna lose as a team. Like if we're losing, we're still hanging out because we're still a team. Like we did a really good job of like just setting that standard and like really making it known that like it's together and everybody's working towards the same goal. My 2 fellow captains and I, like, I appreciate them so much. I had Mo and I had Jackie Wolford and Morgan Kamicki, and they were just like really, really great people to work with too, who were super supportive. Like, it just really kind of worked as like a little team between those three, between us three and like the senior class that we had. Like, it was really, really cool. And it felt like everyone was on the same page. And we had a really good freshman class coming in too that I think really helped fill some of those pieces that we had just graduated to because we did graduate a decent class and like there were some big like holes that we needed to fill, and I think some of them really stepped up and like really handled it with grace. And I don't know, it was crazy. Like it was a year that I'm never going to forget. And like, as much as I would wish we could have like won a max championship, it was cool to still be regular season champs and like still have that to us. And to have a first season, like have some first season wins that like we never would have thought we would have won. Like, let me just give you an example. Like Robert Morris, like my freshman year, we lost like 27-4. It was like their senior night. They absolutely killed us 27-4. And so now being a senior, finally beating that team, like I think it was like 12-10 or like 13-11, whatever it was by 2 points. Just being able to like look back and being like, yeah, like it felt like so surreal. Like, there's no way that that just happened, but also being like, no, like, we deserve to win. Like, we've been working towards this goal for like 4 years straight. Like, we've been working towards taking down Robert Morris. We've been working towards taking down Central Michigan, who would also beat us 20-5 every single year. Like, these teams who had consistently been beating us, like, we were finally beating them. So, like, it sucks that we didn't get the MAC championship that we wanted, but like, there were still so many steps that were taken, I think, for the first time, that it's like crazy that it took so long, but also like, yeah, like, we deserve that. Like, we worked for that. Like, we did that. Like, that was a really, really big moment for us, not only like our senior class, but also like for the whole club. Like, now the standard is to go to the champ or go to the playoffs every single year. Like, if you're not making the playoffs, like, that's a bad year. Like, the standard has officially been set. And I think that's something that like we feel we're proud of, like, in leaving that program.
You guys had a huge growth from when the program
Um,
started, winning,
oh, yeah.
struggling to win games, and now you guys finish off your career as MAC regular season champions, and down the line, a potential NCAA berth down the line. Because with how much
Mm-hmm.
the program's grown, like sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you just gotta trust the process because it ain't
Yeah.
easy, no matter
Yeah.
what you do in life.
No.
Yeah. Talk about your transition from playing in midfield to playing it on defense.
Okay, so I think it was a really good switch for me. It was like really what I needed. We, at the time that I had switched, I noticed that we graduated two defenders, and I think two other of our defenders like had torn ACLs. So it was like a really crazy moment where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna make the switch, like, now's the time. Like, I felt like we really needed somebody to step up in that moment. And one of our defenders who we had graduated, she was like known for like really loud, really big communication. And I was like, hey, I think I can be somebody who can like be really loud and have really big communication. Like, I feel like I can take on this role. So I went into my coach's office and I was like, hey, like, I want to play defense. And they were like, great, like, you're super passionate about it. Like, let's put you on defense. So I was like, okay, like, let's do it. And it was like really good for me because midfield in college is so different than midfield in high school. Like, there's so many things that like you could do in high school, Ohio, that like just like weren't allowed in college, in the sense that like you just weren't going to get away with it. Like, there were so many, like, I don't know, just everything from like offense to defense. Like, it just was a lot for me coming in, I think, my freshman year, being a full midfielder and trying to learn everything from like offense to draw to defense. Like, so I think switching to just straight defense allowed me to just focus on like one end of the field. So it gave me like a sort of sense of like direction and like focus. Um, and I felt like that was like a way for me to like really thrive and like really, I sort of like set my sights on like what I wanted to work on. And like, then I could really pinpoint like little bits and pieces of like, okay, I need to tweak this. I need to work on this. I need to, I don't know. I think it was really good for me in terms of like, um, just finding something to really hone in on. And at the time, the team was really hurting because we had just graduated two and we just had two who went down with ACL. So like, we definitely needed somebody who felt like they could step up. And I was like, yep, I want to try it. And thankfully my coaches really helped me and supported me and allowed me to take on that role. But it was the greatest thing I could have ever done. I think it was really, my calling in a way.
Awesome. And now that your playing days, your Kent State playing career is over, you also coached. Talk to me about Maxim Lacrosse in general and how you got into coaching.
So I actually got into coaching with oh gosh, like a boys program in the area. Um, and I like helped out with their practices. And then we started a girls program from there. So like I started like in high school, like just kind of helping out around local areas, helped out local camps. And then we started a girls program right after that. Um, and the first year we had like just two teams. It was like a middle school and high school team. It was like 40 girls total, I think, in the club. Um, and we had grown it from like 40 to like now 300 and oh gosh, 50, 70. I don't even know where we're at now. Like, we have quite a few teams from like our senior level team all the way down to like our fourth grade team, which is like the coolest thing ever because they're super fun. And that's like one of the teams that I work with now. Um, and it's been really cool to see Maxim like grow as a club. Like, we used to be formerly known as Burning River, but completely separated since then. And now we're Maxim, and like that's our new name. So that's been a really cool thing for us to focus on this past year, is that, our new name, our new brand, like who we are completely as a different club. Like, it's just been fun and really interesting. And it's been like really cool because, again, my dad started Avon Lacrosse, and he was like, "Oh, let's like, why not start one more club? Like, let's just do it just for fun." So we ended up starting MAXIM, and now it's a whole family affair because I coach and my younger brother coaches, and my dad's the head director and helps coach. My mom does the back end web stuff, and my other younger brother will help set up the tent and hand out uniforms and take photos for the club. Like, it's truly a full family affair. It's truly a full family business. MAXIM is an actual family name, which is why we chose the name, because it's a family, like truly a family organization, and like we feel like the people in our club are our family and like our people, and it's a really fun time. Every time I show up to practice, it's always a really cool time.
Awesome. And what's been your favorite part about coaching so far? We talked before we started. You talked about how you had a tournament. You guys went 4-0, I believe.
4-0, yeah. So okay, favorite part, I say probably um just being able to like work with kids and like provide an experience for lacrosse for kids, because a lot of these kids are sometimes coming from being coached by their dad. We're like, which isn't great, which isn't a problem, because like somebody needs to coach those kids, somebody needs to run those teams, but like a lot of them come to us with like not ever knowing the true way that you should be holding your stick or the proper way that you should be shooting form. Like the same way that they're learning right now, how I learned was like in my backyard, like looking up YouTube videos, trying to figure out this sport as fast as we can. Um, so it's cool to be able to like come in and like really hype these girls up and like really show them like this is what lacrosse looks like. This is what high level lacrosse looks like. Like how can we get you from, good high school lacrosse to like high level lacrosse to where you're now going to Philadelphia competing against East Coast and Southern teams and like actually beating them now. Like it's really cool to take teams who are maybe a little raw or maybe just unsure of each other, or really like feed into them, really love on them and like hype them up and like watch them grow. I would say like my favorite part of coaching is like getting to see girls progress. And like prime example, I have a little one who I've coached over the years. Her name is little Cami Miller. I love her to death. The first time I ever coached that girl, the other team doesn't have a goalie. Something with her equipment, they take the goalie out, they put 5 defenders on. And I think I've watched her, and I think she alone took 5 shots on an empty goal and missed all 5. And that's my first experience with her. Now she's like on one of our top teams. She's played up with me on my national team. Like she's a really, really good kid. And it's been so cool to watch her go from like missing 5 shots on a goal that's completely no goal. I mean, she's in like middle school or maybe even younger than that. I think she was maybe in 6th grade, to now seeing her being like a rising freshman and her like really competing, her coming up to me telling me I think she just made like all Nike or all American, something really crazy, where I was like, oh my gosh, like I love to see the girls progress and being able to come back and being like, Coach Allison, I did that. And I'm like, yes, you freaking did that. Like, I'm so proud. So just being able to like see them grow over the years, over a season, it's always super rewarding. And like, I just love them. They're great. They're really great kids.
Without a doubt. And what does that say about the growth of lacrosse in not just the state of Ohio, but across the United States? Because Avon started their program, and
Mm-hmm.
you helped to start Avon's program. Solon started theirs recently, and
Yep.
some other schools who we probably haven't heard of yet are probably A/B testing, starting their own
Yeah.
programs.
Um, I would say it's cool to see like, okay, it's interesting because like when I was in high school, like there was concepts that like I didn't even understand. Like something is like a slide on defense, like somebody gets beat and now here's the second defender. Like basic concepts of lacrosse, like I had zero idea about. And now we've got these like all of our coaches are either Division 1 or Division 2 players who are now coming back to like give back to these kids and like teach them what they're learning in college. Like I didn't really have these like high level concepts being taught to me. Love my dad to death, but he just didn't really understand like what the full extent of like high level lacrosse could be like. So now we have all these kids who get to come back and like explain what these high concepts are. So we like it's really cool to see over the years how these schools and these clubs are like progressing, because now as a freshman these kids are coming in with the idea of a zone. Like I didn't know what a zone was, like a zone defense, I didn't know what that was until my senior year of college, like or junior year of college. Like these concepts that I was just now learning 2 years ago, these kids are learning in like 6th, 7th grade. So then by the time that they get to their senior year, like I can't even imagine what the game of lacrosse is going to look like in 4 years, because all of these kids from all these local high schools are learning all of these crazy concepts that like when I was playing, I had no idea was a thing. Like it's just really cool to see like how overall everybody's learning at a younger and younger and younger age, and it's just going to progress even more and more, which is really cool.
Absolutely, and even as a content creator, learning when some coaches and players talked in post game about crashes and stacks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And when I see it on the video, it's like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I come from a football
Yeah.
background. I come from like 4-3 defenses, and four shotgun and pistol
Yeah.
formations
Oh,
and mountain plays.
oh, yeah. It's cool.
So, so, you say you also are helping coach at Mount Union. What are you
Yeah.
going to be doing for that?
So I actually just took the position. I've been working with Coach Beth Snyder. So when I'm at tournaments, I'm either coaching, and when I'm not coaching, I'm recruiting. So it kind of is nice because they kind of go hand in hand, like working with club and working with a university, because they need to obviously recruit during the summer, and I'm already going to these tournaments because I'm working and coaching with Maxim. So then when I'm there, I'm done coaching by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Then I'm there until 6 o'clock at night because then I have to go and recruit and watch all these other teams play and try to take notes on these kids so that way I can come home and like try to send them emails and try to recruit them to come to Mount Union. Um, so she actually just started March 1st, I believe. She just took over the program, which was super late, but they did really, really well. They went to the first year or first round of the NCAAs, made it through that. I think made it to the second round and then got knocked out then. But to be able to make it to the NCAAs, they were conference champs. They were beating teams that they haven't beaten in 4 years. Like you could really feel like they had made a turn since Beth had sort of taken over the program. So I'm really excited to like work with her, really excited to learn from her. She's a really cool human being, really cares about the kids, really cares about like who she's working with. Like she's just a really awesome mentor already in the month that I've been working with her. So I'm really excited to like get on campus, meet the kids, like really start to like work with them and like build relationships with them.
That's amazing. And Mount Union's a very prominent school in athletics. Obviously,
Oh
you
yeah.
got the success of the football
Oh
team. Basketball team went to the championship of Division 3.
yeah. Mhm.
Baseball teams had good years. The women's lacrosse team went to the tournament, like you said. So you're
Yeah.
taking all that knowledge that you've learned, and you're ascending pretty
Yeah.
much.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. What's really interesting about Mount is like I feel like the standard is like you have a 13-time national championship football program. Like, okay, as a lacrosse program, like that's the standard. Like that's what we have to do also. And it's really cool because like their facilities are like our facilities. So like if somebody's winning, like we're all kind of winning and we all kind of reap the rewards and benefits of it too, which is really cool. Um, it's a really, really cool place and a really cool university. And I'm like, I just can't say enough like how excited I am to like how thankful I am to like be a part of it.
Awesome. And thank you for coming on the show. And Allison, if you have anything you want to promote or anything or any message you want to share, floor is yours.
I would say in terms of something that I've learned over the years, um, constructive criticism without trust is just criticism. That was a quote that I heard recently, my senior year, and it's something that stuck with me ever since. And it really sort of like rings true to like what I believe in as a coach and what I believe in as a person, and that like you can't tell somebody something or you can't try to coach somebody, you can't tell them to do something without the relationship first, without the trust built first. Um, and so if you're going to try to go at somebody, they're not going to receive it the way that you think it is. Doesn't matter how nice you are, doesn't matter how approachable you are. If there's not trust built at the core of it, like it's just going to fall flat. It's just going to be criticism. It's not constructive. So I think something that I would try to say to everybody is that like if you want to get into coaching, if you want to get into sports, if you want to be a part of a team at a Division 1, Division 2, Division 3 caliber, like trust your teammates, build trust with your teammates, build relationships with your teammates because the relationships off the field lead to success on the field. And that's something that I really believe in as a person and as a coach.
Absolutely. And sports are fun and definitely have fun when you're playing because
Mhm.
you're not going to be playing forever.
No, it goes away really quick. And then you're like, oh no, like, what am I supposed to be doing now without like a workout packet or like my teammates to go see next door? Like, it's definitely really weird and been an adjustment, but it's been good.
Thank you for coming on the show, Allison. Really appreciate
Yeah,
your time.
for having me. I appreciate this time.